Hi, folks. Welcome to our April combined site meeting. I'm joined here with our three business agents, as well as some members of the SEMA Executive Board. My name is Lawrence Su, one of your SEMA OE3 business agents. Zeb?
Hi, everybody. Zeb Feldman, Senior OE3 SEMA Business Agent out of the San Jose PE office. Why don't I turn it over to Jonathan?
Hello, everybody. Jonathan Brown, SEMA OE3 Business Agent, and I'll turn it to Adam.
Good afternoon, folks. Adam Cole, your last SEMA OE3 business rep, and we have a couple board members here today. Mary Beth.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mary Beth Rogers. I am a member at large on the SEMA Executive Board, and with the county, I am a management analyst out at the Social Services Agency. Nice to see everybody here today.
I think actually that's it.
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just scanning through. I'm not sure I see another board member.
That's all right. Folks will be continuing to joining our meeting today because we have a lot of topics to talk about, some fun topics too as well. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and in the actual chat, you'll see the agenda popping up. We'll be talking about the SEMA OE3 picnic, general membership meeting, SEMA scholarships, new SEMA website in regards to account activation and website interaction, and a limited reopener update on the SEMA contract, as well as information about possible SEMA tours with the new Sheriff Bob Johnson and Santa Clara County Supervisor Sylvia Arenas. Alrighty then, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, so folks, we have a wonderful picnic that's hosted by Operating Engineers Local 3, which is our affiliate union here at SEMA. And it's going to be on April 16th, Sunday at Christmas Hill Park. It's going to be in Gilroy. Now, although the admissions you might have seen on the flyer into the SEMA Voice is $10, SEMA is giving free tickets by request. So just go ahead, feel free to email myself or any of the business agents to request those free tickets. We can either mail it to you or you can come by to the SEMA office and pick up those free tickets. They're $10 value each for kids that are 10 and under. They don't need a ticket, but definitely we want as many SEMA members coming to this wonderful picnic. We have a lot of great events here too as well. Zeb, we want to share about how it was in past picnics, especially the fun activities for the kids.
Sure. Thanks, Lawrence. So this has been an event that hasn't really happened since we got hit with the COVID lockdowns and restrictions. So we're back at it. Historically, this event has not been really trafficked by SEMA. You know, maybe we've had 15, 20 SEMA people show up. So it's a great opportunity, and it's been great. Everybody who's come has enjoyed it. It's been a good opportunity for us to have a strong SEMA showing. But as Lawrence pointed out, there is fun events for the kids. Historically, there's been face painting. I'm not quite sure what they're called. Is it a balloon animal artist? I don't know what they're called. Person who makes balloon animals. As I said, face painting. There's an inflatable bounce house that the kids get to jump around in. So it's kind of geared towards, I would say, kids that are maybe, 11 and under, 10 and under. This isn't like your teenagers are going to want the ribeye. They're not going to want they're coming for that. They're not coming for the face painting, right? But if you have younger kids, they're going to enjoy those activities. Years ago, they did things like sack race and stuff like that, but that I haven't seen for a little while. So yep, it's a good event, especially if you like barbecue or you want an excuse to get out with the kids.
Lots of good food, lots of good company. You're going to see a lot of your fellow union members from SEMA, as well as the general larger family and Operating Engineers Local 3. So hope to see everyone that Sunday.
Oh, also one final thing. I think primarily due to me jumping up and down and stamping my foot and running around in a circle, they now will have a significant vegetarian offering. So if there are any vegetarians on the call that are interested, there will be an offering for vegetarians. Absolutely. That's not just a baked potato, right?
Absolutely. So please do get your tickets now. Again, email us, drop by to the office, and we'll definitely get you your tickets. Another very exciting event. It's going to be online on Zoom. You might have seen it through the SEMA Voice. We'll be sending out some more reminders as we lead up to this date. We encourage as many dues-paying SEMA members to show up on April 13th through Zoom at 12 p.m. to really join our annual general membership meeting and hear about some really exciting accomplishments and future priorities from the SEMA board, as well as staff in terms of what's in store for our union. There's a lot going on. We have contract negotiations that's upcoming, a lot of great organizational growth that we've seen in this union, as well as future priorities and projects that we definitely need and count on with our members to help us on to. So definitely join us on April 13th. It's going to be through Zoom. We don't anticipate that there's going to be a limit on the number of participants. So certainly as many folks can come, all 2,000 of us. So see everyone there. SEMA scholarships. This is the SEMA scholarship season. Folks have been who've had high school kids who are going into college are probably very anxious about some of the actual college admissions. I think this is the time that people will be getting those results. At the same time, we also want to acknowledge that college is going to be very expensive. So SEMA is here to help for our dues paying members to offer these scholarships, which is about, I want to say about 20 or so scholarships ranging from scholarships available for high school students, undergraduate students, as well as postgraduate students. And so definitely want to encourage folks to check the SEMA website to look at what scholarships are available and to submit those scholarship applications before the deadline, which is going to be on April 30th of this year. So we have about a month left. If you have any questions about the scholarships, feel free to email the scholarship committee or any of the business agents if we can be able to assist you too as well. We had a lot of applicants last year and gave out a lot of money with some really great applications that just have our head scratching like, wow, what did we do when we were in high school? So congratulations to everyone with your really smart kids. Definitely encourage them to apply for these scholarships. We're joined here with by Mary Beth, who's actually on the scholarship committee. Mary Beth, you want to share anything about the SEMA scholarships?
Last year was my first year on the scholarship committee, and it was amazing. We have some really, really amazing members who have amazing kids, and it gives me hope that the world isn't going to burn up in 2050. And so, yeah, so get your applications in because it was really edifying to be able to read them. It was such an interesting project to be a part of. So.
Absolutely. And, for folks who aren't familiar with the website, you can find more information about the scholarships through the SEMA Voice that we've sent out, but also on the website at sccma.org. If you log in, go onto the SEMA website, go under committees, it's under scholarship committee, and you can read a lot about the scholarship itself in terms of who may apply, where to get applications, just click the button, or you can also email scholarship@sccma.org. Again, a lot of scholarships that's here. And we also have here past scholarship winners. We both featured the actual applicant that won the scholarship, as well as the SEMA parent that for the scholarship winner. On the next topic,
Lawrence, just one second, Lawrence. There's a comment in chat pertaining to this, and Mary Beth, because you're on, maybe you can comment on this. Our member Swati was saying her son. I think Swati. I think you're a lady. I don't know.
Yes, I am.
Okay, her son tried to apply, but couldn't because she hasn't been a member for a year. I know that's historically been a rule of the scholarship committee. Is that something the scholarship committee is looking at changing, or is that still the criteria?
I believe that is still the criteria. Swati, what I would do is I would email Donna Mensimer because she is the head of the committee, and she would have more. We've met once because we were just approving the formatting and the essay questions, but we haven't really gone over all of the policies yet. So I would definitely email Dawn Mensimer, and she'd be able to give you better information.
I'll put her email in chat.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. And just so everybody understands, the reason for this is not to be punitive. It's that we want people to have been dues paying members for a while before immediately reaping a benefit, right? And the benefit is anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. Lawrence, you will see that there's another question about OE3 scholarships, if you want to touch on that.
Yes, absolutely. So for OE3 scholarships, they're also available on the OE3 website. If you just go to OE3 scholarships, it'll pop up in one of the search results. Their deadlines are a little bit different. Their criterias and questions are a little bit different. Certainly, a lot of the winners for the OE3 scholarships happen to also be SEMA members too. So we definitely encourage you to take a look at those. I think their deadline is actually a little bit earlier than ours, but certainly for us, our deadline is on April 30th. And I just wanted to highlight here, yes, part of the criteria for folks who can apply for a SEMA scholarship has to be a member for at least 1 year. So for an example, we recently incorporated a good amount of Monterey County, and a lot of those members have not been members for at least 1 year. So unfortunately, they won't be eligible for their children to apply for the scholarship, but certainly next year, when scholarships open in March, people can apply for the SEMA scholarship.
And just to add real quick, Lawrence, I know you mentioned for folks going into college this year, but the scholarships are available not just to folks going in for their first year after high school, but to any year of university that they're in.
Yes, like I mentioned before, it's good for high school students, undergraduate, and postgraduate. And specifically for the postgraduate, we do have the, I believe, the Keith Memorial Award, which is a $2,500 scholarship award to post-college graduate students continue their education, with especially emphasis on their educational goal being in public service. So definitely visit the website and read all about it under the committees tab in Scholarship Committee. When you're visiting the SEMA website, there will be certain tabs here that is password protected. And this is where I really want to emphasize that part of the benefits of being a dues paying SEMA member is that you have access to that vital information. What information are we talking about? Well, in this case, negotiations. So when you want to actually activate your SEMA website account, you can either email any of the business agents or go to contact us and just put your information here, and one of us will be able to get back to you and activate your actual website account. Again, you can actually go here or email web@scma.org. There's a lot of ways to activate your account. We definitely want to be able to get you on board to use the SEMA website. Something that you'll notice with the actual SEMA website, because everyone here on the call are dues paying SEMA members. Negotiations update. This is a page specifically for Santa Clara County. Monterey County Superior Court has their own negotiations page. We will be providing negotiations updates and on these pages here. And you'll notice that there's a bargaining survey that has been sent out. The link to the bargaining survey is also here, as well as a bargaining team solicitation. So if you might have missed the SEMA voice, it would also be on the actual SEMA website. So definitely want to be able to keep note of all the information that's coming out, as well as the deadlines there too. So for an example, for the bargaining team, the submission of interest is by April 17th. And if you do become on the bargaining team, we definitely want to let our union know who the folks are going to be on the bargaining team. And so you'll be reflected onto this page too as well. So definitely get your submissions in, as well as fill out that bargaining survey that you can access both, again, through the SEMA voice and the actual SEMA website. Alrighty then. Our next topic is going to be the contract limited reopener for SEMA. I'd like to turn this over to Zeb or Adam to give any quick updates for our members.
I can jump in first if you don't mind, Zeb.
Sure, go ahead.
Just provide a little bit of the history for folks who might not have been on recent site meetings. So the county approached the major unions, SEMA, SEIU, RNPA, about the possibility of doing a contract reopener instead of entering full contract negotiations, or contract extension on a limited reopener basis. And what that would mean in most cases is, rather than opening the full contract for negotiations, you extend the timeline of the current contract, usually in exchange for a couple significant changes, most commonly, general wage increases for the extended years, and a couple other things. So we've been talking to the county and both administration and the board about this. We can't say right now whether the contract extension discussions are going to go forward or not. What we can say is that we're proceeding with preparations for full contract negotiations on the possibility that the extension doesn't end up going forward, or we're not offered terms that we think make sense for us to agree to the extension. So that timeline for full contract negotiations that we've shared previously is that we are anticipating starting negotiations this summer. as a reminder, our current contract does not end until June of 2024. But everybody who was here last negotiation will remember that we didn't get a new contract in place until 9 months after the last one expired, which puts us in that position, right, of trying to then get retroactivity at the last minute, which is very difficult always. And it's just not ideal because it means folks have gone without an increase for a substantial chunk of time. So we really want to ensure that we have a new contract ready to go when this one ends. So if this doesn't go, the extension doesn't happen, we want to start this summer. Towards that end, folks will see a couple things in their email from the last SEMA Voice. The first one is the initial bargaining survey. So what that survey is designed to do is start the process of narrowing down on a list of bargaining priorities that our team can take to the next negotiations. You'll see there's some rank choice voting options in there. The proposals are broken down by things that are high, medium, and low cost to the county. The reason why they're broken down that way is that, you know, we can't go to negotiate. Well, we could, if we go to negotiations with only things that cost, you know, millions of dollars per year for every item. We'll get some of them, right? But then we'll be leaving bandwidth on the table where we could have also gotten things that were of a medium or lower cost to the county. So we want to have a well-rounded basket of priorities to go to negotiations. You'll see that ranked choice voting. The current list is made up of things that, you know, folks raised in site meetings, they've raised us individually, or priorities that we had last negotiations that we didn't get there on. In addition, there is a field for folks to just put in anything that you would like to see in the next survey as a priority, something that we may have missed, or something that might be relevant for, you know, your agency or your department. You know, that's the place to enter that, so that in future surveys, as we continue to refine what the membership's priorities are, that we get everything that should be getting voted on in there. And as a quick reminder, I think from, maybe Zeb, correct me if I'm wrong, you were here at the time, I think from the basket of proposals that we had last time, we got probably 2 of the top 3, and I would say 7 of the top 10 made it into the final contract from what we went there with. And, you know, 10 to a dozen proposals is kind of a reasonable basket of things that we enter negotiations looking for. It's a fairly reasonable number. The other thing that you'll see,
right, Adam.
sounds right, okay. The other thing that you'll see in that e-blast is a solicitation for folks who would like to be on the bargaining team. It's got 3 questions in there. So if you'd like to be on the bargaining team for this coming year, please go ahead and fill out those 3 questions and send them to SEMA notifications. And as a just kind of general overview, please keep in mind this is a generally substantial time commitment to be on the bargaining team. You know, with negotiations starting this summer, they could last up to a year. We never really know, but it's usually 1 to 2 meetings per week for a substantial number of hours, usually a half day. And while the county will usually try to make accommodations to folks' workload, if you're on the bargaining team for a lot of SEMA positions, that's just not possible. You know, if you're the PM3 who runs your department, you know, it's difficult to offload work from your area. Realistically, most of our bargaining team folks in those kind of positions just end up working super hard during negotiations, which is not ideal, but we want to be frank about that. So we're looking forward to putting together a good bargaining team. Those decisions will get made by the end of the month by SEMA's executive board with input from staff. And then we'll have some more bargaining training for the team once we get to negotiations. There's additional opportunities for folks who would just like to be generally involved in negotiations, to be on the contract action team, or to be a liaison. So if you're interested in being involved, but not at that, you know, super high level of commitment, there are options for you as well. And then, as always, we need to start trying to get a sense of, you know, how much level of kind of general support we're going to have membership as a whole. As you guys who were here during last negotiations will recall, it was critical for us to turn out members repeatedly at the Board of Supervisors for a social media campaign, for letter writing, for those videos we produced. It was really member involvement that let us get that 5% off our pension contribution. Without that, we just wouldn't have gotten there. So I think we're all a little bit concerned about what the future state of the economy looks like, and we're going to need to ensure that you know, folks are raring to go for negotiations.
Yes, thank you, Adam. There was a question, not in general chat, but just directed. Could you please explain what a limited reopener is? So Adam did touch on this, and I know we've talked about it more at prior site meetings, but perhaps not at this one. Oh, and I see Mary Beth, you have your hand up. A limited reopener is a narrow reopener where most items are moved forward. So as Adam pointed out, we're doing this survey to see what the top priorities are of the membership. With a limited reopener, we'd be able to only address, let's say, 3 items of particular importance. Maybe it would be the top 3, right? So pretend the top 3 are longevity pay, healthcare, and inflation adjustment / general wage increase, or whatever it is. Okay, well, then those are the ones that we're addressing. Now, what we can anticipate is that wages and benefits are always going to be talked about, and we know that the county was coming to the table wanting to talk about telework. So we can kind of take those off and then figure out other priorities of the unit. So presumably, longevity pay might be one of them. Who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe vacation is one. Maybe childcare is. Who knows, right? That's why we're having the survey, and then we'd be able to address those. That's in sharp contrast to full reopener, where we can address anything, and there is an unlimited time as long as we're willing to extend the contract. So limited reopener means limited topics. It also means a limited time frame, at which point we would say, oh, the limited reopener succeeded. Great. Here's a contract for everyone to vote on. Or let's say we blow through the timelines. Well, we weren't able to come to an agreement in time. Now we're going into full-blown negotiations. So it's an abbreviated timeline. The reasons we think this is pretty good is, as Adam pointed out, where we could be looking at economic troubles ahead, especially if we go the full 1.5 years until our contract expires. And there's a level of political certainty right now on the board, and there's a level of familiarity with the existing administrative structure. That means Dr. Smith and his cadre that will be leaving and being replaced by James Williams and others. And we know that towards the tail end of our contract, it's likely that Supervisor Simidian and Supervisor Chavez will be gone. So that's a little bit of our thinking. Mary Beth?
Yeah, the other thing that we were, I was looking at around contract negotiations is we want to try to get our membership numbers up as high as possible. And I'm the chair of the membership group on the board of directors. So I wanted to just, if you are interested in reaching out to a couple of the folks who you work around or who you work with, remotely or whatever, I'll put my email address in chat, and you can send me an email about, areas that you'd like to do a little bit of recruiting in, because the more we have, the stronger we look whenever we do anything in front of the board. So thank you.
There's a couple questions in chat real quick. I'll jump on. I think the first one's from Todd. Guessing that's Todd Stotesbury. Todd was a ringer on the negotiation team last go around. Hopefully Todd wants to be on again this time. We'll see. So the question was, is the county's intent with the limited reopener to get an extension in place sooner rather than later? So I think what we can say, Todd, is the idea of contract extensions, I think, originated with Dr. Smith likely. So he'll have his priorities that I would guess have to do with handing things over in a kind of smooth way to James Williams as he comes in to be CEO, rather than have things, a lot of negotiations to immediately jump on. So that was likely some of the priority there. In addition, in the second question here from Rosario is, how do we see budget cuts for the fiscal year impacting us? I mean, I think generally, as Zeb was saying, we're concerned about the future state of the economy. Negotiating sooner rather than later seems to be advantageous right now. We can't say for sure that's the case. Maybe things rally and, that was the wrong decision. But that's our assessment right now, is that we'd rather be negotiating sooner rather than later.
There's a couple other questions here. While I'm answering that, if someone can post before I forget Donna's email in chat, otherwise I'll do it after these questions. There was another one that said, kind of related, any updates on conversations with the county about a possible inflationary pay increase? This is a direct message. So the answer to that is effectively no. So what the county is doing is rolling those discussions into negotiations, right? So because we were unable to persuade the board to act swiftly on that, although we tried, right? Now that that so long has happened and the contract is likely to come up, or not likely, will be reopened, whether it's through a limited fashion or a regular fashion, that's where the county will address inflation. We'll have to address it through proposals. So the answer to that question is no. Inflation is not something that the county is going to be addressing prior to our contract negotiations. Let's see. There's another question that anyone can answer. How does SEMA see the budget cuts for fiscal year 2023-24 impacting contract negotiations? Over 600 vacant positions are targeted for deletion countywide. I speak briefly to this. So that's absolutely true. We're seeing vacant funded positions being deleted throughout the county. I've heard the number keeps ratcheting up. So there is definitely a budget deficit within the county. And that is of concern for those of you that have friends working in local industry. There's a little bit of a schizophrenic response to, or varied response to the economy. If you're in construction, electrical work, basically think infrastructure or long-term capital projects, things are still going gangbusters and there's plenty of work for you, and there seems like sunny skies ahead for the foreseeable future. If you're in the private tech industry, you're probably hurting right now. So we see the local employers really everywhere from, I just had a 10% layoff at my office and I'm really keeping my head down and working extra hard, to, does anybody want to become a pipe fitter? Because we need more hands that are out here. So it's a really mixed response as to areas where there's a lot of work and opportunity and areas that are really sharply contrasting. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add to the budget? I see shaking heads. So
yeah, I think you covered it. Just generally, yes, it's concerning, right? And that's a reason why we'd like to be in negotiations sooner rather than later. That's our assessment right now.
Yep. Mary Snow brings up an excellent point about when we're looking for members who are participating in bargaining. That's always been my policy. I realize I'm one voice amongst many, Mary, but when I talk about an ideal negotiation team, it's the same thing as when I talk about an ideal board, right? SEMA e-board. I can't control who's on the board. I have a little bit more sway over who's on the negotiation team, but it's always been our tradition to select or elect people on the negotiations team. As representatives of the institutional union, we have the authority to just point at people and say, guess what? You're on the negotiations team, as long as you're willing to serve. I've always opted throughout my career not to do that, because I think it's beneficial to have you select people, have your e-board select people that are tried and true and want to get to have that experience. So I completely agree. It's important to have a variety of classifications. As you point out, it's important to have a variety of PEPRA versus classic retiree people, but it's also important to have a variety of demographics. It's important to have a variety of, as you point out, departments that are represented, and also style of work, right? I think we all can agree that if we had 10 people on the bargaining team and all 10 of them were nurses, we'd be like, that's really weird. Like, because 100% of the membership ain't nurses. Why is 100% of the bargaining team nurse? Similarly, it would be strange if all of them were from TSS, right? Or something like that, right? And we have seen that kind of lopsidedness in service in the past. I think that every negotiation team I've been a part of, I think, has done an excellent job of not only advocating for themselves, but advocating for all membership. And you hear me say this every single time. People, you can throw your shoes at me now. Whenever we're at negotiations, we're bargaining for 3 people. Most importantly, current members, 3 groups, but of course, also future groups and future members and retired members. So we always have to have that in our mind, that even though the future members aren't even at the table, and we can't have future members at the table with us, we legally can't have retired people at the table because they're no longer represented by us, but we still have to keep them in mind at all times. So it's a well-taken point, Mary. snow, and it's one that we will be looking at too as we're assessing people. I have one other direct message. Do you guys have any direct messages concerning contracts? Lawrence, Adam? Okay.
No.
We've got the memo from OBA that the county is facing a structural deficit of 120 million for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Yeah, that's why I say the number keeps rising. The first number I heard was 30, then it was 50. You're citing 120. I had heard 150, but no one is sending me memos. They're just sending me, this is what I heard. So I'll take your word for it that it's 120. But yeah, that sounds about right. Now, bear in mind, we're also talking about depending on how you measure it, anywhere from a $5 to $9 billion budget. So I realize that $150 million sounds like a lot of money in the context of a $9 billion budget. Is that a lot of money? Well, of course, $150 million is a lot of money, but put that in context of a $9 billion budget. Got it. Rosario is confirming that was the amount the CEO said yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, all right, folks. Well, our last topic on the actual agenda are the SEMA tours with Sheriff Bob Johnson and Sylvia Arenas. So the SEMA Executive Board was discussing a very interesting idea that we want to actually start having tours for some of the newer elected folks. That includes for the two newly elected for the county supervisor as well as the sheriff. And we know that once Cindy Chavez and Joe Simitian term out, their replacements, we would also like to give them a warm welcome, more than just a meeting, but to actually show them where our SEMA members are working. This is a great opportunity to not only educate more of these newly elected officials who may not be familiar with what the county does, but also give an opportunity for our SEMA members to share their stories and what are some of the struggles that they might have at the workplace. Especially in light of contract negotiations, being able to put a face behind the services that the county provides, that's going to be important when it comes to reaching out for support with these county supervisors as well as the sheriff in terms of getting their support on specific issues that we need support on when it comes to negotiations or anything that might happen off contract that would also benefit from, a letter of support from the sheriff or actually more vocal comments during a next board of supervisors meetings with Sylvia Arenas. This is an opportunity for us to really show the numbers and the strength behind SEMA. And we definitely want to raise this with some members that, hey, are you interested in actually having County Supervisor Arenas kind of, come by to your office, learn more about the work? Because we definitely want to be able to reach out to certain SEMA members who are willing and able to volunteer. We want to coordinate these tours to be very smooth, but also very informative and eye-opening for these elected officials. So definitely reach out to us, whether it be myself or the other business agents, emailing us. We definitely want to get those logistics together in the next couple of months and get these tours executed because we know that other unions are also trying to get the ears of these electeds. SEMA is definitely going to continue our efforts to get their attention to as well. Just recently, we've had our meetings with members of the Board of Supervisors. We're continuing to meet with them to discuss about this contract that's coming up for SEMA. And so we want to continue that effort too. So again, please do definitely reach out to us if you're interested. And also let us know, what are some other interesting ideas that we could also juggle around for future events. We have professional development events. A big one that's coming up is with the Greta Hansen, James Williams, and Jeff Smith, as Jeff Smith is going to give his final address to SEMA members, specifically dues-paying SEMA members. And so those are some of the great ways to get informed, as well as to give back and volunteer with the union. Alrighty then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.